You do it again. You're in the shower, in bed, staring out the window, and suddenly your mind takes you somewhere completely different. You're winning an argument you lost years ago. You're having the conversation you never had the courage to start. You're living a version of your life where everything finally makes sense. And then reality pulls you back. That strange feeling hits you, half relief that it wasn't real, half disappointment that it has to end. Most people call this daydreaming, but it's not. What you're actually doing is far more complex. You're building entire worlds in your mind. Detailed scenarios where you have control, where you matter, where the ending is always what you wanted. The question isn't why you do this. The question is what your brain is really trying to tell you when it does. But before we go deeper, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps channels like mine that are just starting out. Let's continue. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't weakness. This isn't your mind wasting time on fantasy because you're avoiding reality. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's simulating, it's testing, it's trying to give you something your real life can't: control. In the real world, you can't predict how people will react to you. You can't rewind conversations. You can't guarantee outcomes. But inside your mind, you're the director, the writer, the actor. You get to say the perfect thing. You get to be understood. You get to win. And your brain craves that feeling, especially if you've spent years feeling powerless, misunderstood, or overlooked. So the real question isn't why you imagine these scenarios. The real question is, what is your brain actually trying to solve? What problem does it think these simulations can fix? There's a network in your brain called the default mode network. It activates when you're not focused on the outside world, when you're just thinking. For some people, this network doesn't just wander, it builds. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly asking, what happens next? How do I respond? What could go wrong? When you imagine these scenarios, you're mentally rehearsing. You're running simulations the way a pilot practices in a flight simulator, testing responses, building confidence, preparing for the unexpected. But here's where it gets complicated. Sometimes the simulation becomes a substitute. You rehearse the conversation so many times, you never actually have it. You imagine the success so vividly, the real work feels less urgent. You replay the hurt so often, you stay stuck in it. The tool that was meant to prepare you starts to trap you. And your brain keeps doing it because it works, at least in the moment. In your mind, you finally have what you don't have in reality: complete control over the outcome. But here's the cost of living too much in these scenarios. When you spend hours in your mind, you start to lose touch with what's actually real. You get angry at people for things they only did in your head. You feel disappointed when real life doesn't match the script you wrote. The gap between your inner world and your outer world widens. You become more comfortable in the scenarios than in reality, because reality is messy, unpredictable, unscripted, and your brain struggles with that uncertainty. So how do you work with this instead of against it? Not by stopping, not by shaming yourself, but by understanding what these scenarios are really trying to give you. First, externalize them. When you catch yourself in one, write it down, not to analyze it to death, but to get it out of the loop. Second, ask yourself, is this scenario preparing me or protecting me? There's a difference. Preparing means you're rehearsing something you actually plan to do. Protecting means you're hiding in fantasy to avoid discomfort. Learn to recognize which one you're in. Third, set a time limit. Give yourself 10 minutes, then return to the present. This trains your brain that scenarios are a tool, not a residence. Ground yourself in the present when you notice you've drifted. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breath. Look at something real in front of you. This pulls you out of the loop and reminds your brain, this moment, this body, this life is real. Here's the truth. Your mind is a river. The scenarios are the current, sometimes gentle, sometimes wild. You can't stop the river, but you can choose not to be swept away by it. You can sit on the bank, watch it move, and then stand up and walk your own path. The scenarios will always be there. That's not the problem. The problem is when you forget they're not the destination. They're just your mind trying to make sense of a complicated world, trying to protect you, trying to give you control when everything feels uncertain. Your real life is waiting, messy, uncertain, unscripted, but real. And maybe that's enough. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next video.